This is Void Collector. It's the first-person shooter I spent the last year working on. It's my pride and joy, and I tried my best to make sure that each and every level felt unique and fun and tested the player in many different ways. And then this guy figured out how to skip almost the entire game one day after it came out. Here's how. Alright, let's start by explaining how the game's weapons work. You press 1 through 5 on the keyboard to toggle each finger on your hand on or off to make the different weapons. For example, press 4 and 5 from a closed fist to make a pistol, whereas 1 and 2 make a sniper rifle. But the weapon we're concerned about today is the detonator. When this weapon is out, press left click to place a bomb and then right click to detonate. The explosion is decently large, taking out groups of enemies at once. On top of that, however, anything that survives is blasted up into the air. You wanna know something that's shockingly good at surviving explosions? Surfboards, apparently. These are the primary gimmick of World 2, titled Tropical Train Yard. The surfboards are pretty simple on paper, launching quickly once you step on them and bouncing across the ocean. However, one thing that I overlooked in development was that the surfboards can be affected by explosive knockback due to being the same type of object as enemies. So, standing on a surfboard in the right spot and blowing it up sends both you and the surfboard upwards. Somehow, the knockback on the surfboard actually adds to the player's momentum, letting you get some truly crazy height. So, how does this actually help players skip the entire game? Well, to put it simply, I made some risky decisions. This is the hub area of Void Collector. The goal is to beat stages to accumulate void power. Once you've beaten 12 of the 16 primary stages, this portal will activate and you can access the final world, Void Core. It's stored way up here in this floaty purple thing. Now, putting the game's final stages in an accessible location is just asking for trouble, so I added an insurance policy. The entire area is fully enclosed, so even if players managed to get up here, they wouldn't be able to break into the levels themselves. Well, using a surfboard in the hub area, you can actually get just enough height to poke your head up into the warbly purple thing and see the Void Core area itself. But even with the surfboard trick, it's not quite enough height. The trick is to use this spinning windmill blade. So this is largely a prop added for extra detail, floating around the void to add some extra visual spice. But this prop would turn out to be essential for this trick to work. You see, this windmill blade is a pawn. That's a type of object in Unreal Engine, and it's pretty much what all of my enemies and characters are. The reason it's a pawn is to let it synergize with this weapon called the Gimme. It's pretty cheap and pulls enemies quickly towards any pawn it hits. I made the windmill blades pawns because it allows for some really fun speedrunning tricks and lets you get really, really stupid with it. So, use the Gimme on the blades, and you can get just the right amount of height to make it on top of the structure. Okay, so what? We're here, but the area is still impermeable. There's openings, but they're all blocked off by windows. Here's where another crack shows itself. To prevent the player from needing to backtrack a lot, the hub area is covered in checkpoints. When you pass through any of these checkpoints, you'll have a new respawn point set. So what you can do is go somewhere, and then press the instant reset key to go to that new spawn. Pretty simple. So, I put a few of these up in the core area to make it all a bit more convenient. I even made sure not to let any of these checkpoints poke out so that players wouldn't be able to break anything, even if they could somehow get all the way up here. Well, how'd players get in then? I just messed up. The checkpoint is too large right here, and you can touch from the outside and then press the instant respawn key to teleport inside, right in front of the second to last level. Whoops. At this point, all the player needs to do is beat one stage to get rid of this purple barricade and then run straight on through to go fight the final boss and win. Shortly after this bug was discovered, the community's top runner, Aurelius, claimed an any percent time of 3 minutes and 7 seconds. This video was posted on April 28th. The game came out April 26th! How did they break it so quickly? In all seriousness, I think this is very funny and quite cool. And I could just patch the glitch, right? Well, I don't plan on doing that. Let me explain why. Speaking from personal experience, I find that learning glitches to screw around in some of my favorite games can be really refreshing, and add a whole new unintended dimension that can really make something more fun and long-lasting. But obviously, not every glitch should be left in. Unintended game crashes and softlocks, for instance, should always be patched no matter what. Some cases can be a lot harder to judge, however. Here's my criteria for when something should not be patched. 1. This is the most simple criteria. Is it cool? Does it add something neat to the overall package? Number 2, does it make the game deeper, or does it do the opposite and make the game simpler? Here's a loose example of what I mean. Let's say there was a bug that you could do to make the sniper rifle deal 1 billion damage. That's kinda funny, but that bug would make a lot of speedrun routing less interesting, since you'd be able to just sit away from danger and kill everything instantly without using a ton of the interesting weapon combos and synergies. 3. Is it hard to encounter randomly? Is it the sort of thing a first-time player could find and make the game less fun or more confusing? If you can answer all 3 of these questions with yes, it's probably fine to leave in. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive test, and this is the sort of thing that needs to be judged case by case, but I think it works here. I asked TooMultiplied, the person who discovered the glitch, a bit about the discovery process, and it's interesting to see how a lot of trial and error and exploration all came together to make this weird skip a reality. Pause here if you want to read more. Alright, so that is the surfboard skip, and why I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. I'll actually be holding a speedrun contest in the near-ish future that will likely have an any percent and any percent no surfboard categories, so I'm actually embracing it, if anything. And if that sounds like fun, consider picking the game up for yourself and start practicing. I'll see you all next time, and thank you all so much for watching.